Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Star Wars 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. Today we're taking a look at Mace Windu, based off his appearance in Attack of the Clones and kinda sorta the Clone Wars as well. Now I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I have popped a link to their site in the description below, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Hot Toys Star Wars figure review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, everything on the slipcover is very straightforward. It's what's underneath that I'm most excited about. Front and center, we have an image of the figure himself, although I don't think that head sculpt is fooling anyone. I have thoughts, we'll get into it. We have a metallic foil Star Wars logo and his name down below. On the side of the box, a two-tone effect with grey and black, as well as a couple of logos. And then warnings and legal information on the back of the box. This is more like it. This is what I love to see from Hot Toys and their Star Wars boxes. It's got a real Kenner vibe about it, and I am so here for it. There's an open window up front showcasing the figure and all of his accessories inside. The top cover is held in place with magnets. We've got an old school looking Attack of the Clones logo, his name with a yellow background so it pops, and a vintage looking foil sticker that's not a sticker at all. This is part of the artwork itself. On the side of the box, another image of the figure himself. And he's on Geonosis, I think. I reckon that's what the very orange-yellow toned sky is supposed to represent. There is a read-up, so feel free to pause to read. I get what the read-up is saying, I just don't know that I agree with it. I personally never picked up on Mace Windu having little patience for the Senate. Perhaps I didn't read enough into Sam Jackson's performance. If you have some more info on why it says that, weigh in down in the comments below. Around the back, we have another vintage Attack of the Clones logo, some more figure photography, Geonosis in the background, and warnings and legal information. Growing up with the prequels, Mace Windu was my guy, and I know he didn't get a lot of screen time. But try explaining that to a young Justin who thought that this was peak Jedi, purple lightsaber, Samuel L. Jackson, and he killed Jango Fett on Geonosis. So I was really excited when Hot Toys announced him. First in-hand impressions? So far so good. I will have to let my thoughts develop on the head sculpt and we'll discuss it in way more detail later. What we are going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first. Thank goodness they're going back to the printed base toppers, because this is such a easy way to spruce up a Star Wars base so that it doesn't look exactly the same as all of the other Star Wars bases they've given us in the past. This is adhesive backed, so you can peel off the backing and stick it down permanently if you so choose. It's nice and glossy, and it's meant to be the flooring of the Jedi Council Room chambers. To remove it, because I haven't used the adhesive, we can just slide it off. Underneath, we've got the Republic flooring with some silver dry brushing around the edges of the panels. Around the front, Star Wars and Mace Windu on the etched nameplate. And once I reinstall this, up top, an adjustable crotch grabber. We will discuss this in much more detail when we actually pop these parts on him, but we do get some interchangeable gauntlets for his Clone Wars look and these little socks so that we can tame his sleeves before we slide these on. Ah yes, a fine addition to my growing miniature Star Wars hologram collection. We've got the hologram projector done in shiny silver and copper, plus a mini Yoda hologram. For as tiny as this is, you can tell exactly who this is supposed to be. It's cast in translucent plastic, and they've sculpted these horizontal lines on the surface to give it that rough, janky TV scanline effect that Star Wars holograms have. If you want to remove Yoda, Totally doable. Damn it, Hot Toys, you had one job. You didn't print BMF on the lightsaber hilt. I am joking, of course. I still would have liked to have seen it on one of the hilts, because we have seen them do hero and stunt designs for hilts previously. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Sam Jackson, Mace Windu, BMF, and you'll soon find it. The sculpt work and paint applications on this hilt, outstanding. There's some texture for the leather grain sections, there's some gold, washes in the crevices, and it's done in this shiny metallic silver finish. They do give us multiple interchangeable CoverTech wheels. A longer one so this can slot on his belt, and a shorter one if you have him posed with this in his hand. So they can do vibrant lightsaber blades. This is how they should all look, this level of saturation. The purple is spot on. This is also quite good looking, except for the fact that the effect makes no sense. It's an even fan, so it looks like he's going like this, forward and back constantly, which he may be doing, depending on the pose you put him in. An actual lightsaber trail should be a straight blade with a curved edge behind it, so it actually looks like this thing is in motion. They've fixed that with future Jedi figures. They didn't update this effect piece for Mace Windu or any of the other Jedi that had already been announced prior to them updating this. The detail is just as good on the USB hilt. I usually rant and rave about how terrible I think this design is, and I'm still going to do that, but how do you feel about this? Do you like this mess of parts with the cable that connects to the junction box that stores on the figure, or the crotch grabber when you switch out the clip? After you've done that, you connect up the non-included USB-C cable. I still attest that if a figure has a USB-C powered light-up effect, you need to include the cable. Come on, Hot Toys, that's just elementary stuff. I don't know how they've convinced some of y'all that you don't need a cable with this. Some of the comments that I received on my previous Star Wars videos said that I was crazy for complaining. They don't need to include cables. Even if you don't like me for it, I'm always going to fight for more value and accessories like cables that make sense. And lastly, some hands. But not pairs again. How are they this cheap? With a Jedi figure, how do we not have two gripping hands so that he can hold his lightsaber properly? We get one gripping hand for the right side, and this angled half gripping hand for the left. See? No pairs, only one force push hand for the left side. The paint apps are good. We've got some lighter paint for the cuticles, there's vein work and skin texture, both sculpted and painted. Oh, okay, so they know that we need pairs of gripping hands, so they give them to us as the Clone Wars versions, with the fingerless gloves and the armor plates with weathering over the top. Only one open palm hand though, and a semi-force push hand for the left. Lastly, two open palm hands already installed on him out of the box. What we're going to do now is get Mace Windu himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. Except for his lightsaber hilt on his belt, I did pop it on there just to complete the look. This figure is a mixed bag for me. There are certain things that I really like the outfit and the body choice and the proportions because of that body choice. But there's one major flaw working against it. Surprisingly, it's not the head sculpt. I'm joking. It's, of course, the head sculpt. From a distance, I'm sure you can even tell that something is not quite right about it. Take a very close look at this sculpt in the upcoming clips and comparisons. Fingers crossed that helps you make up your mind on whether or not you like this head at all. Up close and personal, kicking things off with his head sculpt. Is it as bad as some people were saying? No. But I am not about to sit here and defend this sculpt. It is far from perfect. I can see the likeness from that angle right there. But the thing that ruins it for me is the expression. Why did they give him such an intense furrowed brow with the squinted eyes? That is a surefire way to ruin the likeness. And that's what happened. From most angles, you really have to hunt for it to be able to see it. At least, technically speaking, it's well executed. There's plenty of sculpted and painted skin texture, the eyes are nice and glossy, the mouth area looks like Sam Jackson, there's some vein work, some bumpiness to the bald head like right there, so it looks more realistic, and the neck is fully painted and sculpted all the way down into the outfit. It is a better sculpt, in my opinion, than the third-party Saber Master that it's going to be replacing in my display. You can have him wearing the hood if you want to. I don't think that helps this head sculpt's case, and it's not wired, so it is going to be a right pain to work with to try and get it to sit down and look good. The cloak or outer robes are made of the same stuff they usually are. This plush feeling, lightweight single ply fabric. It is hemmed all the way around, but it's not wired for the long sleeves. This is a bespoke design for Mace. It's not wired for the hood or anywhere else. The only place where we have wires, up here around the top for the collar area. You can shape it and get it to sit over the shoulders, so I'm glad they added wires here. I would have liked to have seen them at the very least in the hood. I have no idea why they didn't do that. The inside of this fabric is slightly rough, so it does almost stick to the inner robes when you push it down, which will help you get it to sit in position properly. When you take the robes off, you are going to have to do some cleanup. It leaves behind a bunch of these little brown fuzzles on the surface because of the sticky nature of the inside of that textured part of the fabric. Anyway, this is how I'm going to display Mace in my collection. And I found where all the wires went. The front tabards, they're wired. The bottom sections, also wired. And the skirt piece, that's wired too. But they didn't wire the end of the sleeves, which is extremely frustrating, and we will discuss that in more detail in the pros and cons segment. But you see this? How there's some excess fabric folded over itself to make it look like this is a bit baggy and there's weight to it and it's hanging over the cummerbund and belt? That's perfect. I've never seen them do this before with other Jedi figures. Going forward, I want to see this more often because it adds a touch of realism and simulated weight to the fabric. Is that the right way to put it? Simulated weight? I think so, because it's not actually heavy. Gravity isn't doing anything to it. This is entirely fake. It's made to look this way by design. Now, the belt is made of pleather. It's held together around the back by a piece of Velcro. The pouches and the buckle and the little canisters, that's all sculpted plastic. And you can slot his lightsaber hilt onto the belt via the CoverTech wheel and the clip. You literally just slide it in there and it sits in place. Underneath these non-wired sleeves, yes, I am still salty about that, we have some faux sleeves. This is made of a off-white textured fabric, just like the inner part of the robes underneath this layer and the outer tabards. This is not connected to the sleeves. These are basically socks. They're free-floating, which I like. We will discuss why later on. His pants underneath his tabards and his tunic are made of this lightweight single-ply beige material. There's enough excess fabric that they bunch up like they're supposed to, and they are not going to get in the way of range of motion. Now, his boots are bespoke to him, just like his custom design for his Jedi robes. I've never seen another Jedi with boots like these. In typical Hot Toys fashion, they went with pleather. Why do they keep coming back to pleather? It just doesn't last. The top part is pleather. The middle part is just straight fabric. It's supposed to look like suede. The strap, pleather. This strap, pleather. And same thing with the bottom. See this piece with the buckle on it? That's real metal, by the way. That's where they could have hidden the cut for the split cut boot design if they'd have sculpted this out of rubbery plastic. Fingers crossed one day they can ditch pleather entirely. On the underside, there isn't any sculpted tread. They have, however, added a touch of dirt and grime. It's time to convert him to his Clone Wars look, and it's very straightforward. Read the instructions if you find my tutorial not that helpful. Step 1 is to remove his hand and slide off the inner sock piece on both arms. Then you want to grab all of this excess fabric, wrap it around the forearm and wrist pegs so it's sitting as close to the body as possible. Then you can bring in this included sock piece, slide it over the top, and that will hold everything in place. You should be left with something like this. It looks a mess now. It'll come together once we slide on the gauntlets and we attach the hands. To do that, slide the gauntlets on both sides. Do make sure you have the one with the comms pad on the right hand side and the one with the Jedi Order logo on it on the left. Et voila! General Mace Windu from the Clone Wars. If you're a Clone Wars collector only and you don't have Revenge of the Sith or Attack of the Clones figures, this guy might still be a cop because this look is sick. I can totally see myself having Mace rocking this in the collection every now and then. Or I may end up putting these armor pieces on my third-party Mace Windu. Then I can have this guy facing off against Palpatine and that one with the other Clone Wars releases. Back to stock. Just know that you will have to steam the sleeves, perhaps, because they will get wrinkled and creased when you have the armor on. So this is the third-party Sabermaster Mace Windu, wearing the Hot Toys Clone Wars armor. The head sculpt is not great, the body is pretty rough, the outfit is kinda terrible. Now that I'm seeing this guy with fresh eyes because I have the Hot Toys Mace Windu, I don't think this is going to cut it. It's an option if you have this guy already. I don't recommend going out and finding him. If you want to have both looks on display, just get 2 Hot Toys Mace Windus. It's time for my favorite part of these Jedi reviews. Can you hear the sarcasm? Because I hate the LED USB powered sabers. You have to thread the cable through the outfit, which is the easiest part of all this. Then you have to attach the junction box to his belt, and the thick, not included USB-C cable to the junction box and the power supply. When you flick the switch, this is the worst part of the whole thing. The actual effect is pretty terrible. It's bright down the bottom because it's a base slit hilt. The light doesn't transfer all the way through to the tip of the blade in actual bright lighting. And most of us do have lights in the cabinet, so for those who tell me that they look better in low light, yeah, they probably do, but how many of y'all are actually displaying your figures in complete darkness? If you are one of those people, this is what it looks like with the studio lights turned off. Even in complete darkness, the effect is still shit. When you add the swooshing blade on, it looks even worse because there's so much more translucent plastic that the light has to pass through, and it's not bright enough at the base of the hilt for it to properly do that. So, enter the competition. This LED lightsaber, also powered by USB, but no junction box, it goes straight into the power supply, is made by fusion reactors. I don't think I need to tell you how much of an upgrade this is. You can see it as plain as day. The fusion reactor's saber is way brighter. I have popped links to their socials in the description below. It is so bright that it's being blown out on camera with the studio lights turned on. So how these work is they've essentially inserted an LED strip on the inside of a translucent plastic blade. And then the cable is extremely thin, so threading this through the outfit is going to be much easier than the thicker Hot Toys cable. The hilt is unfortunately a bit less detailed and more rough looking compared to the Hot Toys design. That doesn't necessarily bother me because when this is in his hand, it's in his hand. You can't see most of the hilt, it's being obscured by his hand. So as long as the blade looks good for an LED light-up saber, I'm happy. For a quick side-by-side comparison, on the left, the new Hot Toys Mace Windu, and on the right, my outgoing 1/6 scale Mace Windu. the third-party figure known as Sabermaster. He's not the master of anything. The skin tone is too dark, the proportions are all kinds of funky, and the outfit isn't even accurate. I can't even remember the last time I was able to bring out Attack of the Clones Yoda for one of these comparisons. It's been too long. He looks great standing next to Mace. He's significantly shorter, exactly as he should be. I'm thinking that one day they're going to give us a 2.0 Yoda, and then they can either include his floating chair or his Jedi Council Room one. Speaking of figures we need a 2.0 of, an artisan perhaps, with the slicked back hair, I reckon it's doable. Then again, most collectors who missed out on him would probably just settle with a reissue. It's an absolute grail, Episode 2 Count Dooku, who is taller than the already quite tall Mace Windu. Or Jango Fett, dude got done dirty. Not as dirty as Boba Fett in the original trilogy. A lot of fans, including myself, we were expecting a badass Mandalorian in Jango Fett. And he kicked some butt, but not nearly enough before he had his head lopped off by Mace Windu. As you can see, Jango is shorter than Mace. Moving on from Episode 2, now we're at Episode 3. Revenge of the Sith Anakin is essentially the same height as Mace Windu. I'm so sorry, I don't want to take Obi-Wan out of this pose. You know how when you get a figure in a pose that looks great in the collection, and then you mess with it and you can never quite get it to look the same again? That's what I'm worried about with Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan, who is sporting the Mandalorian disguise Obi-Wan's head sculpt. It doesn't matter anyway, you can tell that Obi-Wan is the shorter of the two. Switching gears to Clone Wars. This looks so good that it seals the deal for me. I have to pick up another Mace Windu, one to have with the prequel figures, and the other to have as General Windu. I know I shouldn't, but I find it a little bit funny whenever I show this Clone Wars Anakin head sculpt in a video, that people come out of nowhere just to tell me how terrible it is. If you don't like it, I get it. I do. This is my custom sculpt. I had it made to my own specifications. And for those who say the Hot Toys sculpt is better, this is the Hot Toys sculpt, just with rooted hair and a repaint. Going over articulation, starting off with his head sculpt. It's on a fixed neck with a ball joint at the bottom. Looking forward to there, looking up to there, swivel and pivot side to side. His arms will go up to there, going forward and back on soft ratchets. There's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90, and then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. He is wearing multiple layers, so crunching forward is restricted to there if you really force it, going back to there, swivel, and pivot side to side. This is all fabric, so I'm expecting a decent range of motion for the legs. Going forward on clicky ratchets to there, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at the knee going just past 90. I was expecting more out of this joint. I don't honestly know why it doesn't go further. And then for the ankles, a double ball peg. Good for forward and back, swivel, as well as ankle tilt. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is, unlike with Episode 3 Obi-Wan and Anakin, the ends of Mace's sleeves aren't wired. So that means even in a neutral pose, managing this extra fabric is going to be a pain in the ass. The second annoying thing, while I don't hate this head sculpt, I would be lying if I said that I loved it. How did they get Nick Fury so right, but get Mace Windu so wrong? It's the same person. Surely Hot Toys sculptors are capable of a better Sam Jackson likeness than what they gave us with this sculpt. The third annoying thing is all of this pleather. Pleather for the boots, pleather for the straps, and pleather for the belt. This stuff isn't going to last. Eventually it is going to degrade, because as we all know, pleather is pleather, and pleather flakes. The first cool thing is, Hot Toys did something very clever with the inner sleeves. So instead of being actual sleeves, they're just socks. So they're free floating. You can adjust them. You can bring them down to cover up the wrist pegs. So when you have his elbows bent to the max, they're not going to ride up, exposing those unsightly joints. And you can bring them down so that you can maximize range of motion. Eliminating as many layers as possible is always the right call, as long as it doesn't impact the look. The second cool thing is the Clone Wars armor. It just makes sense. It's such a simple pack-in, some gauntlets and some additional hands. They could probably even fit all of the Clone Wars stuff on the same mold, so from a cost perspective for Hot Toys, relatively minimal. For us, it adds so much value. We can mix up the look, and he now fits not only in an Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith display, but Clone Wars as well. The third cool thing is the return of the printed base toppers. This is how you spruce up a Star Wars base, because footprint-wise, it's the same as all of the other ones that Hot Toys have given us previously. It sets the scene perfectly. Or you can ditch this, and then we're back to the classic Hot Toys style Star Wars base. Wrapping up on Hot Toys Mace Windu based off his appearance in Attack of the Clones. This figure is okay. If it wasn't for the really well-tailored outfit and the Jedi robes and the dope accessories and the Clone Wars bits and the awesome box art, if you told me this was a modern-day sideshow Mace Windu, I'd be inclined to believe you, because that's how off this head sculpt is. If it had have had moving eyes, maybe they could have gotten away with it. But it doesn't. So they don't. It's not enough to derail this entire figure. It came close, man. I'm tempted to say, don't get this and wait for a future Revenge of the Sith one. But we've waited long enough for a Mace Windu, and he comes with the Clone Wars pieces. They might be the saving grace for this guy because, while the head sculpt is off to Samuel L. Jackson, have you seen the Clone Wars model for Mace Windu? It doesn't really look anything like him, so if you have this in the Clone Wars area of your display, this is a close enough approximation of what Samuel L. Jackson fused with the Clone Wars model would look like. Me saying that will ruffle some feathers. So back to me complaining about the head sculpt. They should have done better, and they can do better, because both of their Nick Fury sculpts are superior as compared to this one. If you're not happy with this, hold them to account. Cancel your order. If you are happy with it, like I begrudgingly am, I'm sure you're going to find a way to make this guy work in your display, in a sick pose, wearing the Clone Wars armor, or wearing the robes with your prequel figures. It's not all terrible. There's enough good stuff going on, like the wires in the outfit and the seamless neck and the proportions, that I'm willing to give this guy a borderline pass. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I have popped a link to their site in the description below, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.